My name's Greg Giordano, and almost 12 months ago, I started with another fellow creator, Mike Wagner, Vermont Comics Creators. We're based on Facebook. We don't have a website yet. We're going to get that this month. And we, together, hit up everybody that had a Facebook account that was making comics in the state of Vermont. And at this point, we have 85 members. That's Mike right there. His work. He's a transplant from Texas. His stuff is kind of comes out of horror movies and Mexican wrestler films. That's his sort of rock and roller by trade, too. But what we do is, is we make a community with each other. We have meetups every month. Those two are a married couple. They do this book called Bound, sci-fi, fantasy kind of fusion thing. What was amazing for me is, like, I'm going to be 50 really soon, and in the years that I've been here, it's been really, really hard to get together with people who do what I do. That's what I do. Making comics. Now there's the school in White River Junction. There's a tremendous amount of representation from Vermont doing comics. But up here in this part of the state, that's White River. I can't get there. I'm disabled, and I also don't, drive a car. Jesse Dorona, great guy, really funny, makes comics about video games and his own life and weird sort of fantasy tales. But I've needed that community for a long, long time, overdue, way overdue. And finally was able to meet Mike, and we were finally able to, push to meet other people. And that's what this is all about, or this is half of what it's all about, Vermont Comics Creators. Stephanie Zuppo, also a transplant from, I believe, Philly, from another comic scene out there. Very vivid, terrific work, personal, and mostly personal work. Ben Cohen, local guy, moved here about, I don't remember when he moved here, but anyway, he was a Savannah College of Art comics program guy. He actually got a degree and all that stuff. He really does some very interesting experiments with both the form and the themes that you can do in comics. Robert Burnell right over there, been a long-time cartoonist, painter, but he also does comics. But the thing is, what I want you guys to know, like I have a specific agenda, what I want you guys to know is that it's not just people who do Pulitzer Prize-winning comics or comics that get made into later really devastatingly moving Broadway plays, right? We know about those books. We know about the high-profile stuff. But this is the meat and potatoes of what comes out of comics from the state. Diverse, singular visions. Some people mostly self-published. I have them right here in my hand. Pamphlet comics, full production comics, professionally made comics, right? But you don't know who any of them are. And I would invite you to go to Facebook because there's a public page. We have a private group, but there's a public page, and there will be a website. But what I want you to know is that this is a writer, Mike Luoma, radio personality. By the way, he's worked on many radio stations over the years, but he also writes and hires artists to do his books. He does pay them, by the way. No back-end percentages. None of that baloney. Don't work for free. But all of these folks are friends now. And all of these folks feel like they have a community now. And it informs their work. It excites them to do more interesting things, right? Because as artists, tend to be pretty private, or at least too busy to come out to do any socializing. Sue Norton, terrific local person, just moved back to Burlington. Very personal, and also almost making fantasy tales out of her real-life experiences. She's a wonderful gal. DJ, other things. But what I want you to know is that a tremendous amount of comics are coming out of, a tremendous amount of narrative stories. Andy Kolovos does not make comics specifically. Well, he does do a little stuff, but he has put together a project called The Most Costly Journey, and I won't butcher the Spanish, but basically giving voices to migrant workers and telling their stories in comic book form. I'm going to be doing one. Various different artists are doing those. Important work with comics, right? Not just frivolous work, but important work about people who have no voice normally. Juliana Brazil, just, awesome, quirky, very well rendered and just unique vision. But yeah, these are Kevin Kite, who does satirical cartoons about the environment and other political issues that he sees that you need to know about. So he does this on the web and collects it in books. Again, this is also comics, right? And done here. Heather and Dean Farrington, very successful webcomic, total humor, fusion of humor and fantasy and ninja stuff, really action-packed and really funny and sexy, and they have a great audience, and they're from Vermont, and they're doing a comic. Glennis Fox, you probably know about her. She's a published author, and her works are very, very special, lyrical Greek myths, and then also personal work like a time that she spent in Palestine, I believe. Terrific illustrator, just on that level alone. So there are also people like Jim Velastro and Jim Gorman, people who have never really done comics or much. So they come to a meetup and they get encouragement, right? We're not just for professionals or people that are just, really powered in there. Some of us, like Ben and Stephanie and Rachel, do, stuff with the community and with kids. And that's everybody. That's 85 comic book creators, professional to just struggling and starting out. And they make comics here, and they're learning to make comics, and they want you to know about them. And you should buy their works. Thank you.